If you're over 60, this one simple vitamin could be the difference between staying active with your grandchildren or facing a sudden fracture that steals away your independence. But here's the shocking part. Too much of the very same vitamin can quietly damage your heart and kidneys without you realizing it. Hello, I'm Dr. Morrison, and today I'll share a story that could change the way seniors think about their health. This video is for educational purposes only. Always consult your doctor before making any changes to your medications, supplements, or daily routines. Let me start with a real case. A few years ago, I had a patient named Robert, a 72-year-old retired mechanic from Texas. Robert loved fishing with his grandson, but one winter he slipped in his kitchen and broke his hip. The fracture wasn't just painful, it put him in rehab for months. When we ran his labs, we found his vitamin D levels were dangerously low. His bones were weak, not from age alone, but from a silent deficiency that could have been corrected. So naturally, he started supplements. But here's where the story takes a twist. Robert, eager to catch up, began taking huge doses on his own. A few weeks later, he came back with fatigue, nausea, and blood pressure issues. Tests revealed vitamin D toxicity. Yes, even something as natural as a vitamin can turn into poison when taken the wrong way. That day I realized seniors aren't just battling deficiency. They're also at risk of swinging too far in the other direction. So let's ask the hard question. Is vitamin D the fountain of youth for seniors, or a hidden health hazard waiting to strike? To answer that, we need to look at what this vitamin really does inside your body, why deficiency is so common in the USA, and why too much can be just as dangerous as too little. And along the way, I'll give you clear, science-backed strategies so you can use this nutrient to protect your bones, your mood, and your independence, without falling into the overdose trap. I often tell my patients this: vitamin D isn't really just a vitamin, it behaves more like a hormone. Think about it. It affects almost every system in your body, your bones, your muscles, even your mood. And yet so many seniors across the USA are running low without even realizing it. Vitamin D is often called the sunshine vitamin because our skin can make it when exposed to sunlight. But here's the catch. As we age, our skin loses much of its ability to produce vitamin D. Let me give you an example. A 25-year-old and a 75-year-old can stand outside in the same summer sun for 20 minutes. The younger person's skin will churn out a healthy dose of vitamin D, but the senior, they'll make only about 1/4 as much. Add in sunscreen use, clothing, and spending more time indoors. Suddenly, seniors are left with barely enough vitamin D to keep their bones strong. This vitamin is like the gatekeeper for calcium. Without it, your body simply can't absorb enough calcium from food, and without calcium, bones grow fragile, brittle, and prone to fractures. That's why low vitamin D is one of the hidden causes of osteoporosis in older adults. It is also why seniors with deficiency are more likely to fall, because the vitamin also strengthens muscles and coordination. I had another patient, Eleanor, age 80, from Florida. She came in complaining of weak legs and constant fatigue. She thought it was just age catching up, but her lab results told a different story: vitamin D deficiency. After carefully restoring her levels with the right dose, her energy returned and she regained the confidence to walk outside without fear of stumbling. But bones and muscles aren't the only story. Vitamin D also plays a role in your immune system, helping your body fight infections. Seniors with low levels tend to get sick more often, especially during the winter months. And here is something most people don't realize: this vitamin also influences mood and brain health. Research shows that deficiency is linked to higher risks of depression, especially in older adults who spend a lot of time indoors. Imagine this: a vitamin you can't feel, can't taste, and often can't tell you're missing, quietly draining your strength, your mood, and your immune system. That's why I call it the silent partner in healthy aging. But here's the million-dollar question. If vitamin D is so powerful, why don't we all just take more of it? And here's where the danger comes in, because the same vitamin that strengthens your bones can actually damage your heart and kidneys if you push it too far. So in part 3, I'll explain how seniors fall into the overdose trap, what symptoms to watch for, and how to strike the safe balance between deficiency and danger. Now here's where the story takes a sharp turn. We've talked about the benefits, but what happens when you get too much of this so-called sunshine vitamin? Most people assume that because something is natural or good for you, more must be better. But in medicine, that's rarely true. In fact, when it comes to vitamin D, too much can be just as dangerous as too little. Let me share the story of Tom, a 68-year-old retired engineer from Texas. Tom was always health conscious. He read online that vitamin D could boost immunity and protect against chronic disease, so he started taking high-dose supplements every single day. At first, he felt fine, but within months he began experiencing nausea, constant thirst, and kidney pain. By the time he came to me, his blood calcium was dangerously high. His kidneys were under severe stress. The culprit? Vitamin D toxicity. He thought he was protecting his health, but instead he was putting his organs at risk. Here's the science made simple. Vitamin D helps your gut absorb calcium. That's good, up to a point. But if you flood your body with too much vitamin D, your blood calcium shoots up. And what does calcium do when it's out of control? It hardens. It builds up in places it shouldn't be, like your arteries, your kidneys, even your heart valves. That's why excessive vitamin D can cause kidney stones, artery calcification, hardening of blood vessels, heart strain, and in severe cases even kidney failure. The scariest part. Vitamin D overdose symptoms often look like everyday senior complaints. Constant fatigue. I'm just getting older. Frequent urination. Maybe it's my prostate. Nausea or upset stomach. Maybe it's something I ate. Muscle weakness. Just age catching up. But behind these normal signs, calcium is quietly rising to toxic levels. Certain groups of seniors are especially vulnerable to overdose dangers. Those who combine multiple supplements. A daily multivitamin plus a calcium pill plus extra vitamin D, it adds up fast. Those with kidney disease, their bodies can't handle excess calcium. Those following internet advice without lab testing. I see this far too often. I often tell my patients the only way to know your vitamin D status is through a blood test. Guessing is like driving blindfolded. You might stay on the road, but one wrong turn could be fatal. So the question becomes, how do you get enough vitamin D to protect your bones, muscles, and mood without tipping into the danger zone? That balance, the safe middle ground, is what I'll break down in part 4. I'll share the exact strategies, foods, safe sun habits, and supplement guidelines I recommend to seniors across the USA. Because when used wisely, this vitamin truly can be a key to healthy aging. So now that we've seen both sides of the story, the benefits and the dangers, let's get practical. The question I hear most often from my patients is this: Dr. Morrison, how can I safely get enough vitamin D without putting myself at risk? Let's walk through the 3 main sources, food, sunlight, and supplements, and see how to make each one work for you. I always say nutrition should come from the plate before the pill. And while vitamin D is not abundant in many foods, there are a few reliable sources. Fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel, the richest natural source. Egg yolks, often overlooked, but they carry a meaningful amount. Fortified foods, in the USA, milk, plant-based milks, and breakfast cereals often have vitamin D added. For example, a glass of fortified milk can give you about 100 IU of vitamin D. A serving of salmon, around 400-600 IU. So if you build your weekly meals around these, you're already laying a strong foundation. Now, let's talk about the sunshine itself. Our skin can produce vitamin D when exposed to ultraviolet B rays. But here's the catch. As we age, our skin becomes less efficient at making it. A 70-year-old makes about 25% of what a 20-year-old would under the same sunlight. For many of my senior patients, especially in northern states like Minnesota or Michigan, winter sunlight simply isn't strong enough to make vitamin D. Still, when possible, I recommend short, safe exposures. About 10-20 minutes of mid-morning or late afternoon sun, arms and face uncovered, a few times per week. Always balance with skin protection. Seniors are at higher risk of skin cancers, so never overdo it. Sunlight is free, but it is not equally available to everyone, and that is why supplements sometimes become necessary. Supplements are where things get tricky. They can be a lifesaver, but also a hidden danger if used recklessly. Here's the rule I give my patients. Know your numbers. Get your vitamin D level checked with a blood test. Follow your doctor's dosage, not the bottle's suggestion. Stick to safe ranges. For most adults, the recommended daily allowance is about 600-800 IU, and many doctors prescribe 1,000-2,000 IU for seniors. But going over 4,000 IU daily without medical supervision can be risky. Remember Tom from Texas. He was taking 10,000 IU daily because he thought more is better. His kidneys nearly paid the price. Let's compare two seniors. Mary, 75, from Florida. She takes a short walk in the sunshine daily, eats salmon twice a week, and drinks fortified almond milk. Her levels stay perfectly balanced without high-dose supplements. Bill, 72, from Chicago. He barely sees the sun in winter, doesn't eat much fish, and relies on a supplement of 1,500 IU daily, which keeps his levels steady according to his lab tests. Both approaches are safe because they're personalized. When my patients hear about vitamin D, they often imagine it as a solo hero, the star of the show standing alone. But let me tell you the truth. Vitamin D is not a solo act. It works like the lead singer of a band. And if the rest of the musicians are missing, the music sounds terrible. The missing band members? Calcium, magnesium, and vitamin K2. Here's the simple version. Vitamin D's main role is to help your body absorb calcium. Without calcium, vitamin D has no stage to perform on. But, and here asks the suspense, if you take lots of vitamin D and your calcium intake is too low, your bones may still weaken. On the flip side, if calcium is high but vitamin D is low, your body can't put it to use. It's like having bricks but no mortar. That's why seniors, especially women after menopause, need to think about this pairing. I've seen patients in their 70s who took vitamin D faithfully but skipped calcium. Their bone scans still showed osteoporosis. Now here's the part that surprises almost everyone. Magnesium is required to activate vitamin D. Think of magnesium as the spark plug in your car's engine. Without it, the car won't start, no matter how much gas you pour in. Research shows that many older adults in the USA are magnesium deficient. Why? Processed foods, low intake of nuts, seeds, and leafy greens. I remember a 68-year-old gentleman from Ohio who came to me confused. Dr. Morrison, I'm taking my vitamin D every day, but my levels aren't going up on my blood test. We checked his magnesium. It was low. After adjusting his diet to include almonds, pumpkin seeds, and spinach, suddenly his vitamin D started working. This is a piece of the puzzle too many people miss. And finally, let's talk about vitamin K2. This one is fascinating. Vitamin D helps you absorb calcium, but K2 decides where that calcium goes. Without K2, calcium can end up in the wrong places, like your arteries, instead of your bones. Imagine a traffic cop sleeping on the job. Cars pile up in the wrong lane, chaos everywhere. That's what happens when vitamin D and calcium act without K2. Some studies suggest that combining vitamin D and K2 reduces the risk of artery calcification while improving bone strength. Foods rich in K2 include fermented items like natto, a Japanese dish, but in the USA it's also found in smaller amounts in cheeses and egg yolks. So let's put this together with two patients. Jane, 70, from Arizona. She takes vitamin D, but ignores calcium and magnesium. Over time, her bone density continues to decline. She feels discouraged. Robert, 74, from California. He takes a balanced approach, vitamin D, but also eats leafy greens for magnesium, dairy for calcium, and cheese for vitamin K2. His last bone scan actually showed improvement. Same vitamin D, very different results. The difference? The supporting players. If you've ever heard the saying, too much of a good thing can turn into a bad thing, vitamin D is the textbook example. Most seniors know the risks of deficiency, but what many don't realize is that overdosing on vitamin D can be just as dangerous, sometimes even more so. Let me walk you through this, because I've seen real lives impacted. A few years ago, I treated a patient named Harold. He was 76, retired, and passionate about reading every health article online. He came into my clinic with fatigue, nausea, and sudden kidney issues. When we ran his labs, his calcium levels were sky high. The culprit? He had been taking 50,000 IU of vitamin D every single day for months because he thought, if a little is good, more must be better. That one mistake landed him in the hospital. So what actually happens when you take too much? Here's the science simplified. Vitamin D boosts calcium absorption. But if you oversupplement, your blood calcium levels climb too high, a condition called hypercalcemia. Hypercalcemia sounds harmless, but it can cause nausea and vomiting, confusion or forgetfulness, often mistaken for early dementia in seniors, painful kidney stones, muscle weakness, and in severe cases, heart rhythm problems. One of the saddest parts is that the early symptoms can look vague, just feeling off, tired, or foggy. Many seniors chalk it up to aging, when in reality it's toxicity. Here's the danger I emphasize most to my patients: kidney damage. Your kidneys filter excess calcium, but when they're overloaded, crystals form, damaging the kidneys. Once that damage happens, it can be permanent. I've had more than one patient who ignored early warning signs and ended up with long-term kidney issues, all from taking more vitamin D than their bodies needed. Now you're probably wondering, okay, Dr. Morrison, where's the line between safe and unsafe? That's the million-dollar question. For most adults, the upper safe limit is about 4,000 IU per day, unless prescribed higher doses by a physician for a short period of time. But I've seen patients on 10,000 IU daily for months without supervision, and that's where trouble brews. It's not just about the number, it's about your individual body. Seniors with slower kidney function are at greater risk, even at lower doses. But here's the bigger question I want you to ask yourself. Are you monitoring your vitamin D levels, or are you just guessing? Because here's the truth. Without blood tests, you're flying blind. And when it comes to health, guessing can be dangerous. If there's one thing I want every senior watching this to remember, it's this. Vitamin D can be a game changer for your bones, muscles, immunity, and mood, but only if used wisely. The key is balance, enough to reap the benefits, but never so much that it becomes dangerous. Let me guide you step by step. Here's where most seniors go wrong. They start supplementing blindly. I always tell my patients, don't guess, measure. A simple blood test can measure your 25-hydroxy vitamin D level. This is the gold standard for understanding your vitamin D status. Levels 20-50 ng/ml are generally considered safe for most adults. Levels below 20 ng/ml indicate deficiency. Levels above 100 ng/ml are potentially toxic. Once you know your starting point, you can tailor your intake safely. Supplements are useful, but I prefer that my patients first get vitamin D naturally when possible. Sunlight. 10–20 minutes of sun exposure several times per week can help maintain baseline levels, especially in spring and summer. Foods include fatty fish like salmon or sardines, fortified milk and egg yolks. Even modest adjustments to diet and daily sunlight can reduce the need for high-dose supplements. If your doctor recommends a supplement, follow these rules. Start with moderate doses, usually 1,000–2,000 IU per day for most seniors, unless testing suggests otherwise. Avoid mega doses unless prescribed for a short period. More is not better. Track your blood levels. Recheck every 3 to 6 months if you're on long-term supplementation. Vitamin D doesn't act alone. Pair it with calcium to strengthen bones, magnesium to activate vitamin D, vitamin K2 to direct calcium to the bones and away from arteries. This combination dramatically reduces risk and enhances effectiveness. Even on safe doses, it's smart to be alert for subtle signs of too much or too little vitamin D. Fatigue, muscle weakness, nausea or confusion, bone or joint pain, frequent urination or unusual thirst. If any of these appear, contact your doctor and check your blood levels. Don't wait until it becomes severe. Let's take Martha, 73, from Florida. She started taking vitamin D without testing, assuming more would help. 6 months later, she felt nauseous and tired all the time. A blood test showed her levels were dangerously high. After adjusting her dose and adding magnesium and K2, she felt energized again. Her blood tests normalized, and she avoided kidney issues. The lesson? Safe supplementation saves lives. Test your vitamin D levels first. Focus on sunlight and dietary sources. Supplement smartly. Never guess pair with calcium, magnesium, and K2. Watch for subtle warning signs. Follow these steps, and vitamin D becomes your ally in healthy aging. Here's the truth I share with every senior in my clinic. Vitamin D works best when she's part of a lifestyle, not just a pill. You can take all the supplements in the world, but if your daily habits don't support absorption, circulation, and bone health, the benefits are limited. Let me walk you through simple, realistic strategies you can use starting today. I tell my patients, start your day outside if possible. Just 10–20 minutes of morning sun on your arms and face can boost vitamin D naturally. Pair it with light movement, a short walk, gentle stretches, or even gardening. Here's why it matters. The morning sun is often gentler on the skin, and combining sunlight with mobility exercises helps strengthen bones, improve balance, and lift mood. Think of it as a 2-for-1 wellness boost. Next, let's talk about nutrition. Vitamin D is fat-soluble, meaning your body absorbs it better with healthy fats. Pair your salmon, eggs, or fortified milk with avocado, olive oil, or nuts. Include leafy greens for magnesium and a little cheese for vitamin K2. Example: a breakfast omelette with spinach, shredded cheese, and avocado slices is not just delicious, it's a vitamin D powerhouse. For seniors, meals don't have to be complicated. The key is balance and consistency, not perfection. If you do take a vitamin D supplement, here's a tip many people overlook. Take it with your largest meal of the day. Fat in the food helps your body absorb it efficiently. Avoid taking mega doses on an empty stomach. It won't work as well and could stress your kidneys. Consistency is more important than quantity. Think daily rhythm, not occasional megadose. Here's a subtle connection. Staying hydrated supports vitamin D metabolism. Drink water throughout the day. Pair meals and supplements with a glass of water. Simple, but it helps your body circulate nutrients, flush waste, and maintain kidney health, which is especially important for seniors. Vitamin D doesn't just strengthen bones, it improves muscle function and balance, reducing fall risk. I often pair my senior patients' vitamin D routines with small daily mobility exercises. Chair stands, strengthen legs, gentle heel raises, improve balance. Arm stretches, maintain flexibility. Even 10 minutes a day can make a difference. When you combine vitamin D, movement, and good nutrition, you're creating a powerful synergy for healthy aging. Let's look at George, 78, from New Jersey. He had mild osteoporosis and struggled with low energy. By taking a moderate vitamin D dose, walking outside each morning, adding magnesium-rich foods, and doing short daily mobility exercises, George improved his energy, mood, and even reduced his fall risk. 6 months later, his bone density scan improved slightly, and more importantly, he felt independent again. Morning sun plus light movement, just natural vitamin D plus mobility, balanced meals with fat improve absorption. Supplements should be consistent, taken with food. Hydration supports metabolism and kidney function. Combine vitamin D with daily mobility exercises for maximum benefit. This is how vitamin D becomes a lifestyle ally, not just a nutrient. As I sit across from my patients, one question I hear more than any other is, "Dr. Morrison, will this really make a difference in the long run?" And my answer is always absolutely. If done wisely, vitamin D can transform the way you age. Let me explain why. The first and most obvious benefit is bone health. Seniors with adequate vitamin D levels have stronger bones, lower risk of osteoporosis, and fewer fractures. Imagine staying independent well into your 80s. No reliance on walkers or frequent trips to the emergency room. That's not a fantasy. That's a realistic goal when vitamin D is paired with calcium, magnesium, and K2, along with daily mobility exercises. Vitamin D also supports muscle strength and balance. This is critical for seniors because falls are the leading cause of injury and hospitalization after 70. One of my patients, Linda, 75, from Texas, used to feel unsteady walking around her home. After 6 months of optimizing vitamin D, paired with short daily exercises, she reported walking confidently again and even started dancing with her grandchildren. This is the kind of quality of life improvement we aim for. Vitamin D also helps immune function, essential for seniors, especially during flu season or when facing other illnesses. I often see patients say, "I just don't get sick as often anymore." And there's more. Vitamin D supports mood and cognitive function. Seniors with proper levels often report better mental clarity, less fatigue, and improved motivation to stay active. Here's the part I emphasize most. Prevention beats treatment every time. Taking vitamin D wisely now can help prevent osteoporosis and fractures, falls and mobility decline, chronic fatigue, and low mood, some forms of age-related immune dysfunction. In other words, it helps you stay independent, active, and engaged with your family and community. I love telling stories like this because it hits home. James, 72, from Florida, could climb the stairs to his attic to retrieve holiday decorations without pain. Margaret, 79, from Ohio, could carry her groceries and play with her great-grandchildren again. Vitamin D, when used correctly, is not just a nutrient, it's a tool for living life fully. Before we close, here's your action plan for safe, effective vitamin D. Test first, know your levels. Pair with supporting nutrients, calcium, magnesium, K2. Use moderate, consistent doses, avoid guessing. Integrate into lifestyle, sunlight, balanced meals, mobility exercises. Monitor your health, watch for subtle signs, and stay in touch with your doctor. Follow this, and you're not just taking a supplement, you're investing in decades of healthier, happier living. Here's what I want you to remember. From my heart to yours, aging is not about slowing down, it's about unlocking your next chapter. With knowledge, caution, and the right habits, you can enjoy energy, independence, and vitality well into your 80s and beyond. If you found this helpful, drop your experiences in the comments. I want to hear your stories. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe so more seniors across the USA can benefit. And always check with your doctor before making changes to supplements or lifestyle routines.